We all know that bowel movements are a part of life, and having harder stools can cause discomfort for babies, children, and even their parents. So let's go through some tips on what is constipation, how to treat it at home, and when we should get involved with an office visit. Constipation, let's define it as harder stools that come out round and often cause pain, and sometimes they even cause blood. I will say constipation in my eyes is more pain and bleeding, not just infrequent stools, because some kids will routinely skip days between bowel movements, and if they're happy and the stools are soft, not a big problem. They just want to save us on diapers. So again, children and even infants can go for several days without a stool. If they're happy, they're feeling well, I'm less worried. Now, some kids with constipation will actually have diarrhea. Why is that? Oftentimes, the only thing that can come out of the gut is the liquid or looser stool that tries to get around the harder stool. So if you're seeing a child, especially an older child, with stool accidents or leaking in their underclothing, you think about constipation. So why do hard stools hurt? They hurt because the extra poop is stretching the anus, it's stretching the lower colon, and the stretching can be painful. So how can you as a parent help your child? First of all, it depends on the age of your child. If there is a newborn and they've had harder stools right out of the get-go and never really had a soft stool, then that should be immediately checked by us. Otherwise, we go with infants before solid foods, and we want to look at, are they breastfed? Are they formula fed? If they are formula fed, we may add water feeding to the daily diet, and we may add maybe a small amount of prune juice, maybe a quarter teaspoon, to see if that helps. If it is a breastfed baby, we have you breastfeed normally, then maybe add that quarter teaspoon of prune juice through a spoon or syringe. Once the child is older than an infant, we look at what foods to reduce. Bananas, applesauce, apples, rice, and fatty foods tend to be constipating. The foods we want to focus on: prunes, peaches, pears, apricots, plums, or those type of juices. Now again, these may not be the child's first choice, so sometimes you got to get creative. Mixing prune juice with something that has a little bit more of a sweet factor may make it more appealing. So there aren't many times that pediatricians are going to recommend juices, but when there's a harder, painful stool, this is one of those times. In addition to those fruits and juices, you can also give a certain over-the-counter medicine called Marilax. It comes in a powder, and you can give 1 capsule in 8 ounces of any liquid to your child. This can be done one time or several times a day to soften the stool. Once the stools become clear, almost like water, you can stop the regular use of Marilax. Now, if you've got a child who tends to have harder, painful stools, maybe once or twice a week you use that Marilax just to help keep things more regular. If the Marilax isn't working, please let us know. We should probably see your child for an appointment. Now, we all know about suppositories and enemas, and we routinely do not recommend their use. They're not pleasant for the child, they're not pleasant for you as the parent. So please consult us, ask us about other options before we use suppositories or enemas. Again, constipation is usually not a short-term issue. Sometimes we need to look at changing the diet long-term. Sometimes we have to use Marilax on a once or twice a week basis to help with the constipation. Why do we want to treat constipation? First of all, we want to make your child more comfortable. The other issue is if a child has enough painful stools, they become more fearful of having a stool. Then they start to hold stools. Then it starts a whole cycle. The more the stool is held, the harder and bigger the stools become, the more painful they are, and that increases fear, which means the child's not going to have another stool for a while, pain, and that cycle continues. This can even have a hard time with softer stools, so it may take several weeks for this to get better. We want to try to avoid this as much as possible by early in the game, making the stool softer and having regular stools. So if you come to a point where your child seems to be holding stools, not going frequently, and having issues with possible leakage, then we should see them in the office and talk about a treatment plan. So again, main goal with constipation is not having a stool every day per se, but making sure when there are stools, there's no blood, there's limited discomfort, and the child is eating and playing normally. If you have any questions about stools, about constipation, we're here to help. Active Kid MD.